Thank you, Lon. My name is David Timothy, but on the streets of Dallas, they call me the SoupMan. And it's my deep honor and privilege to be the executive director of the Soupmobile. I wasn't always the SoupMan. Officially, I became the SoupMan in 2003 when the Soupmobile was founded. Unofficially, God started training me to be the SoupMan in 1989. So let's go back in time 22 years to 1989. For me, those were good times. My business was very successful, and while I wasn't rich or anything close to that, I was doing pretty good. I drove fancy cars, played a lot of golf, ate at the finest restaurants. I thought I had arrived. But lo and behold, it was about to get even better. I was about to marry a beautiful young lady, a former cheerleader by the name of Peggy. Peggy could light up a room by just walking in. I knew I had arrived. You won't believe how quickly it all came crashing down. Literally within days of our marriage, within days of saying, I do, Peggy started having some physical problems. She was fatigued and had some troubles with her balance. We weren't too worried. After all, she was a former cheerleader. She worked out every day. She watched her diet. But nonetheless, we headed off to the doctor just to double check. He ran a lot of tests, and he came back and he said, no worries. She's okay. She's just working too hard, stressed out, and the excitement of the wedding. She just needs to take it easy for a while. So we breathed a sigh of relief. But there was one small problem. Well, actually, a large problem. The doctor was wrong. It wasn't stress. It wasn't overwork. It wasn't the excitement of the wedding. It was multiple sclerosis. Now, when we heard that diagnosis, strangely enough, we weren't too worried. We didn't know much about multiple sclerosis, but we thought the doctor could maybe give her a prescription and she'd be okay. How naive we were. Little did we know that not only was there no cure for multiple sclerosis, that the best the doctors could do was maybe delay the progression of the disease. What a blow this was. I had been living the good life. I had been driving fancy cars. I had been eating at the finest restaurants. I was marrying this beautiful former cheerleader. It all came crashing down. Multiple sclerosis. Within a short time of her diagnosis, we sold everything we had, we packed up our car, and we left Detroit, Michigan. We did this because the doctors said they thought she might do better in a milder climate. So we headed to Florida. Overnight, my title changed. Yes, a husband in name, but a caregiver in reality. For the next 15 years, I was a caregiver. I wasn't going to accept the diagnosis of the doctors that there was no cure, and I was determined, notice all the I words, I was determined that we would travel to the ends of the earth if that's what we needed to do to find a cure for Peggy. When we got to Florida, we sold our car, we bought a recreational vehicle, an RV. Most people wait until they're retired and they travel the country in style. We bought the RV so that we could transport Peggy around the country to different doctors and clinics. And for the next 15 years, we traveled the United States, Florida, New Mexico, Seattle, Washington, Tennessee, Arizona, back to Florida, back to Michigan, and finally we ended up in Texas. We had literally become nomads in search of the ultimate prize, a cure for Peggy. 15 years into that odyssey, the universe dropped a bomb on us. Peggy died. She died on her 48th birthday. It was a total, complete surprise. The doctors had told me in confidence that she would certainly live another 10 years, and if there were advances in medical science, much longer. So when she passed away on her 48th birthday, we were all stunned. We didn't see it coming. Even though she was a bedridden invalid, her death was totally unexpected. Here's how it all went down. The week before her 48th birthday, I went out and I bought her gifts. I got her a teddy bear and some of the old Andy Griffith Show tapes. At that point in her life, she didn't have much to laugh about, but she loved watching Andy and Barney and Aunt Bee, and she would laugh when she watched that show. The night before her birthday, I carefully wrapped her gifts, and I got out her birthday cake, and I put the candles on it. And even though she was 48, I put 29 candles on that cake just to make her laugh. I put everything away. We went to bed. The next morning, I jumped out of bed, and I said, "Time to get up, birthday girl. Open your gifts." There was no response. I said it a little bit louder. I said, "Come on, babe. Time to get up. Your gifts are ready for you." No response. At first, I thought she was just kidding around. So I gave her a little shake. No response. Now I started to get worried. I gave her a firm shake. No response. Now I knew something was very wrong. I checked her pulse. Nothing. I grabbed the phone, I called 911, and I screamed at the operator to send help. It seemed like hours, but literally within minutes, I heard the sirens coming. It turns out that the fire station was just down the street. When the first paramedic got there, I waved him into the house, back into the bedroom. He rolled Peggy over. He looked at her ashen face. He turned to me and he said, "Sir, she's gone." I grabbed him by the shoulders and I shouted, "Get her back. Get her back." He said, "Sir, I'll try, but I need you to leave the room so I can work on her." Right at that moment, a policeman entered the house and he escorted me outside. Moments later, more paramedics ran into the house with a stretcher. In a few minutes, they came out and they had something on Peggy's face, some kind of breathing apparatus, and they were frantically pumping it. Hope flickered in me that she was going to be okay. They put her in the ambulance, and right at that moment, one of my neighbors drove up, a kind neighbor lady, and she said, "David, hop in the car. I'll take you to the hospital." It was only 10 minutes away, but it was the longest drive of my life. When we got there, I leaped out of the car, ran into the emergency room, cut in front of everybody, and went right up to the front desk, and I said, "How's she doing?" Of course, the nurse didn't have a clue of what I was talking about, and I screamed at her, and I said, "Don't you know who I am?" Now, I didn't say this to infer that I was anybody important, just to let her know I was the husband of the woman they just brought in. The nurse could see she was dealing with a madman, and she said, "Sir, just give me your driver's license and I'll take care of everything." Meanwhile, that kind neighbor lady was right at my side, urging me to sit down. Finally, I did. The people in the emergency room looked at me as if I were a madman. I was. I didn't care. I just wanted to hear that Peggy was going to be okay. We sat there for what seemed like hours, but shortly after, one of the nurses came out and she said, "Are you Mr. Timothy?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "The doctor would like to talk to you in the back." I went back with the nurse, and the doctor came out, and he started talking some medical stuff. And I cut him right off. And I said, "How's she doing?" And with a look of sorrow, he dipped his head, and he said, "She's expired." I had never heard that term before, but I knew exactly what he meant. She was gone forever. I didn't say a word. I leaned against the wall. I slid down to the floor, and I sobbed uncontrollably. During the 15 years of Peggy's illness, I had never cried once, not one single time, not one single tear. I felt I had to be strong for her. But now the floodgates opened, and I sobbed uncontrollably. Later that day, that same kind neighbor lady took me home, and as I sat there on the couch, all alone, my little 8-pound chihuahua, Thelma, who was still with me, she jumped on my lap, and she was shaking uncontrollably. She knew something was very wrong. I held her like there was no tomorrow. I looked around the room, and I spotted Peggy's unopened birthday gifts. There would be no birthday celebration that day. Later that week, I opened her gifts and I gently put them in the casket to be buried with her. I still like to think that somewhere up in heaven, she's holding that teddy bear and she's watching those Andy Griffith tapes. So what was it all about? 15 years. 15 years looking for a cure. And then she dies on her 48th birthday. What was it all about? Well, I don't have all the answers, but I know for Peggy, the pain is over, the suffering's over, and she's in the gentle arms of Jesus. So that's a good thing for me, and that gives me peace. But what about me? What was that 15 years all about for me? Well, you know, I don't think God caused Peggy to get multiple sclerosis, but I think He used it. I think He looked at me and He said, there's a selfish, self-centered guy, and I want him for my kingdom. For 15 years, He trained me to be the SoupMan. He took me from a guy that had a lot of I's in his life. I this, I that. From a selfish, self-centered man to someone who would be willing to serve. Because at the SoupMobile, we are all about service. All about servants' hearts. 15 years of training me. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think I'm anybody special. Am I different from the man that started that 15-year odyssey? Yes, I can truthfully say I am. But have I arrived? No. I made the mistake once of thinking I'd arrived, but I won't make that mistake again. There's only one who has arrived, and of course that's Jesus. So now we come full circle. We come back to the SoupMobile. Lon said that I started the SoupMobile in 2003. Not quite true. Jesus started the SoupMobile, and I assisted. The SoupMobile, in that first year, we served 5,000 meals. And at the time, we thought it was a lot. But now we serve more than 200,000 meals a year, cooked up by our very own Chef Thomas and his amazing team. We also shelter the homeless. We have 5 group homes here in the Dallas area, a 6th home on the way. Each group home is specifically designed to take a homeless man or woman literally right off the streets, put a roof over their heads, clean them up, get them a job, and return them as productive working members of the community. It's a hand up. It's not a handout. And then every year at Christmas, we do something totally magical. We take 500, yes, 500 homeless men and women literally right off the streets of Dallas, and we put them up at the downtown Dallas Hyatt Regency Hotel. It's a magical Christmas. They all get new clothes, fabulous gifts, lots of love. We hold a huge banquet in their honor where we serve them. The mayor of Dallas comes to that banquet every year as the chief server. In past years, it's always been Mayor Tom Leppard. This year, it'll be Mayor Mike Rawlings. Later that evening, Pizza Hut brings a pizza, 500 pizzas to the hotel for a late-night snack for every single homeless person. But the important thing is, when they wake up on Christmas morning, it's not in some cardboard box in South Dallas. It's in a warm, safe bed at the Hyatt. So, what's in a name? We've all heard that phrase, what's in a name? Well, it turns out for the SoupMobile, a lot. And let me tell you what I'm talking about. Back in 2005, 2 years after the SoupMobile was founded by Jesus, in 2005, we had this idea to start this Christmas event every year and take these homeless people to the Hyatt. When we did this, we tried to come up with a name because this was brand new. What we do is a one-of-a-kind in the entire nation. It was brand new. So we didn't have a book to go by. We didn't have a name. So we struggled for a name, and we finally came up with Christmas Angel Project. Christmas Angel Project. But you know, we had people tell us, no, don't put the word Christmas in the name of the event. Because if you do, you're going to turn some people off. Because you know, we live in this age of happy holidays. It's not Merry Christmas anymore. But we stuck to our guns and we put Christmas in the name because, by gosh, we're celebrating the birth of Jesus. And that name has to be there. Yeah. Thank you. In 2009, Lon Ricker came with the SoupMobile. He'd actually been with us a little bit longer than that, but he started running this Christmas event every year. So this will be his third year running it. It's 1,000 details, but Lon is good at this. He runs the event. And so the year he ran it, the first year, it was called that year the Christmas Angel Project. And we did pretty well. It's our major fundraiser. But then the next year, as we're getting ready for the event, we talked about changing the name. Lon was in favor of a name that more closely associated with the birth of Jesus. So while Christmas was nice, we wanted something even more. So we came up with the name of Celebrate Jesus. And we thought, that's it. We are celebrating the birth of Jesus, and we're going to call the event Celebrate Jesus. We had a lot of people tell us, don't put the name Jesus in the title. You're going to offend people, you're going to turn them off. But Lon Ricker said, no. This is what it's about. We are celebrating Jesus, and that's going to be the name. We had people tell us, you do that, you go ahead with that, and you're going to lose donors, and you're going to lose donations. And you know what? They were right. That year that we changed the name, our donations went down 25%. Some of our key title donor possibilities that Lon was working on just kind of disappeared. People ran for cover. And it wasn't people that were non-Christians, it was people that were Christians that ran for cover. They were afraid that if they supported our event, that some of their customers would be turned off because they were supporting an event called Celebrate Jesus. So, we did that, we lost money, and then people suggested to Lon, change the name back. Lon said no. We're sticking to our guns. And we take our cue from this, from the book of Daniel. And I want to tell you, and you've all heard the story of King Nebuchadnezzar. In the Bible, in the book of Daniel, the king has this golden statue built. And he decrees that everyone in the kingdom has to bow down to this golden statue. But there's 3 young men that say no. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They said no. And somebody tattled on them and said, they're not bowing down. And they got called before the king of the land, King Nebuchadnezzar. And the king's talking to these 3 young men, and he says, this is the law. You have to bow down before the golden statue. And the 3 young men say, no, we're not going to do it. And the king says, if you don't, I'm going to throw you in the fiery furnace. And the king meant it. He was the law of the land. And the 3 young men did what I think, for me at least, is the greatest example of faith in the entire Bible. Here's how they responded to the king, to the law of the land. Daniel 3:17. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. Now that's pretty powerful. That's some great faith. They are trusting that even though the king is there with his guards and the fiery furnace is right there, that their God will deliver them out of the fiery furnace. But that's not the best part of the story. It's the next verse that I think is where the faith really kicks in, and for me it's so powerful. Verse 18. But if not, they say to the king, let it be known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. That's powerful. They're saying, we know God's going to deliver us, but even if he doesn't, we're sticking with him. And that was Lon's attitude. Lon said, it doesn't matter. We're sticking with the name Celebrate Jesus. We're celebrating the birth of Jesus. Our God will deliver us, but even if he doesn't, we're sticking with him. There's a term in poker, the game of poker, called all in. That's where you take all your chips and you push them to the center of the table and you bet everything on one hand. Everything. It's all on the line. It's all or nothing. And that's what the SoupMobile is. We are all in for Jesus Christ. No matter what, we are all in. And why shouldn't we be? Didn't Jesus go all in for us? When he hung on that cross, he took our sins in his own body, that we would have life and have it more abundantly. He didn't hedge. He didn't fudge. He went all in on that cross. And that's the least we can do for him. You cannot ride the fence when it comes to Jesus. You can't fudge it. You can't go in halfway. It's all or nothing. So no matter what happens with the name, whether we get a title sponsor or not, it doesn't matter. We are all in for Jesus Christ because he was all in for us. Now let me finish you with this little story about Christmas. Every year at our Christmas event at the Hyatt, when the event is over, I stand at the exit door. And as each homeless person, all 500, as they're walking out, each one of them individually, I stand there at the door, I reach out with my right hand, and I shake their hand, and I pull them in for a hug, and I wish them a Merry Christmas, and they leave the hotel. We do this every year with every single homeless person. So last year when we were doing this, about 400 had already left the hotel. I shook every one of their hands and hugged them. About the 99th person that was going to be leaving left to leave. As I pulled him in for a handshake, he put something in my hand. He pressed it in my right hand. I'm holding it right here. And then he grabbed me in a bear hug. And our hands were pressed like this to our chest, so I couldn't see what he pressed in my hand. I didn't know what it was. And he's got me in this bear hug. He whispers in my ear, and he says, "SoupMan, this is all I have to give, but I want you to have it. This is all I have to give, but I want you to have it." I still don't know what it is because he's got me in this bear hug. He releases me, and he heads for the door, and I wish him a Merry Christmas. And as he walks out, I look down into my hand to see what he had pressed into my hand. And what it was a cross of Jesus Christ. Extraordinary. This, by far, is the best Christmas gift I've ever received or I'll ever receive in my life. What's it cost at the store? I don't know, probably $10. But for me, it's priceless. This is the kind of gift you can't order from a catalog. You can't go into a store and get. It has to be given to you, just like Christ gave to us when he hung on the cross. This homeless man who had nothing, he said, "SoupMan, it's all I have to give, but I want you to have it." That is a powerful, powerful Christmas message for me, and it was priceless. In 38 days, I'm going to be at the downtown Dallas Hyatt Regency Hotel with my fabulous soup team, more than 2,000 volunteers, 500 of my closest personal homeless friends, and my best friend, Jesus Christ. My prayer is that I will see you there. Thank you, and God bless you all.